Hello friends, welcome to my channel A.P.S School of Excellence. Today we will be continuing our series of hematological investigations and we are starting our second chapter, that is interpretation and differentials of CBC. In our last chapter we have already learned what is CBC, when to advise CBC and what is the importance of CBC. Now let us move towards the interpretation and differentials.
You can see the CBC report on your screen and the reference value is also given. So as we will be discussing the differentials, please leave a comment about the differentials of the report.
Now first of all we will discuss RBC. The normal value is 4.5 to 5.5 million per cubic millimeter. Always remember this value differs in different age groups and both the sexes. There may be two conditions, either RBC number will be increased or decreased, and either it is increased or decreased. They are both conditions physiological as well as pathological. Now let us see what are the physiological conditions in which RBC will come increased. High altitudes and muscular exercise. In both of these conditions there is increased need of oxygen to the body, so the RBC number increase so that more and more oxygen should be transferred to the tissues. Next is pathological conditions. If RBC is increased, it is more than 7 million per cubic millimeter, the condition is called polycythemia. And there are two types of polycythemias, primary polycythemia and secondary polycythemia. In primary polycythemia, there is increase of other blood cells also. And secondary polycythemia is always secondary to any underlying disorders. Second condition in which we will see the pathological increase of RBC is MPD, that is myeloproliferative disorders. This can be the malignancy of bone marrow. Next, we will see decreased RBC. If we found decreased RBC in our CBC report, the physiological conditions are high barometric pressure. High barometric pressure is which is under deep sea, where the oxygen content is already high. So, in these conditions, the RBC is decreased. Second one is during pregnancy. As in pregnancy, that is hemodilution, so the plasma volume is increased and the RBC numbers are decreased. And the pathological condition in which RBCs are decreased is called anemia. So the next parameter in CBC is hemoglobin. If hemoglobin is decreased, the condition is called anemia. We already seen that if total red blood cell count is decreased, that is also anemia. So total red blood cell count is decreased and hemoglobin is decreased, the condition is called anemia. Next one is hematocrit. Hematocrit we already discussed in the previous video that hematocrit is percentage of red blood cell with its content in a certain blood volume. If it is increased, the condition is polycythemia, dehydration and DSS. DSS is dengue shock syndrome. If hematocrit is decreased, the condition would be anemia and pregnancy. Next one is MCV, mean corpuscle volume. I already discussed in the previous video that these are red cell indices, that is MCV, MCH, MCHC and RDW, which often we ignore in the CBC, and these are very much helpful to differentiate in different types of anemia. So let me go through the MCV. MCV is what? Mean corpuscular volume. Normal range is 82 to 98 FL. FL is femtoliter. If MCV is in a normal range, that is called normocytic. That is normocytic red blood cell. If it is less than 80 femtoliter, the condition is called microcytic. It is microcytic anemia, or the cell is red blood cell is microcytic, means small in size. The condition will be iron deficiency anemia. And next is if MCV is increased, that is more than 100 femtoliter, the condition is macrocytic, means RBC cell size is increased. The condition would be pernicious anemia and megaloblastic anemia. So next is MCH and MCHC. What is MCH? MCH is mean corpuscular hemoglobin and MCHC is mean corpuscular hemoglobin concentration. MCH is measured in picogram per cell and MCHC is measured in either percentage or gram per deciliter. Now, if MCH and MCHC is normal, then the condition is called normochromic. It denotes the color of the RBC which it gets from the hemoglobin. So normal, then it is normochromic. And if they are decreased, the condition is hypochromic, that is decreased hemoglobin concentration in the blood. Now let us see two types of anemias. One is pernicious anemia and another one is iron deficiency anemia. As we ignore these red cell indices, but these red cell indices helps us in differentiating different types of anemia. So in pernicious anemia, the condition which we will be seeing is macrocytic normochromic. Means macrocytic is MCV is increased and normochromic MCHC is normal. So if in CBC you found MCV is increased and MCHC is normal, the condition may be pernicious anemia. And if we found microcytic hypochromic, that is MCV is decreased and MCHC is decreased, if both the parameters are decreased, the condition will be iron deficiency anemia. Now next we'll move to RDW. Most of us don't know that what is RDW. RDW is red cell distribution width, and it shows us the variation in cell size. Its normal value is 11 to 16 femtoliter. It is also measured in femtoliter. So if there is increase in red cell distribution width, it shows that the cell sizes has varied. The condition is called anisocytosis. It may be seen in iron deficiency anemia or pernicious anemia or megaloblastic anemia. Now till here we were discussing about red blood cell, its red blood cell indices, which helps us in diagnosing various conditions related to RBC and hemoglobin. Now let us move to the WBC. WBC we see in CBC is TLC, that is total leukocyte count. The normal range of total leukocyte count is 4000 to 11,000 per cubic millimeter. Now there are two conditions occurs, either it is increased or it is decreased. Increased leukocytes are called leukocytosis and decreased leukocytes are called leukopenia. What are the conditions in which leukocytes are increased? First is bacterial infections. In all the bacterial infections, there is leukocytosis, means WBCs are increased. But always remember, there is one bacterial infection in which it occurs leukopenia, that is typhoid and paratyphoid. In this bacterial infection, we get decreased WBC. Second condition in which we see leukocytosis is allergies. Either it is asthma or allergic rhinitis, we find leukocytosis. But it is not necessary that WBC will come increased. Now another condition is decreased TLC, that is called leukopenia. So in leukopenia the conditions will be typhoid or paratyphoid, viral infections, anaphylactic shock, cirrhosis of liver, disorder of spleen and pernicious anemia. And one more thing to note down is if TLC is more than 10 lakh per cubic millimeter, the condition will be leukemia, that is blood cancer. Now after TLC, let us move to DLC. DLC is differential leukocyte count, in which we see the cell counts of different types of WBCs. As we seen in the earlier video, there are 5 types of WBC: neutrophils, lymphocytes, monocytes, basophils and eosinophils. Now neutrophils. If neutrophils are increased, the condition is called neutrophilia, and if they are decreased, the condition is called neutropenia. Now let us see what are the conditions in which we see either increased neutrophils or decreased neutrophils. So in acute infections, metabolic syndrome, vaccination, poisoning, and in cases of acute hemorrhage, we see neutrophilia. Second one is neutropenia, where there is decreased neutrophils. The condition would be bone marrow disorders, tuberculosis, typhoid, autoimmune diseases. Now friends, we have to go for the further diagnosis, further investigations to diagnose, to differentiate these type of conditions. Now let us move to the lymphocytes. If lymphocytes are increased, the condition is called lymphocytosis, and if they are decreased, the condition is called lymphocytopenia. Now lymphocytosis occurs in infectious hepatitis, mumps, rickets, syphilis, thyrotoxicosis, tuberculosis and diphtheria. And lymphocytopenia occurs in AIDS, Hodgkin's disease, radiation therapy, and steroid administration. Now let us continue to other WBCs, that is monocytes. Monocytes, if the monocytes are increased, the condition will be monocytosis, and if they are decreased, the condition will be monocytopenia. Now monocytosis will occur in tuberculosis, syphilis, malaria, and Kala Azar. And if we see monocytopenia, then there is prolonged use of steroids. That means if the patient is taking steroids for a long time, then monocyte count will be decreased. Next is eosinophils. Eosinophils, if they are increased, the condition is called eosinophilia, which occurs in allergic conditions like asthma and allergic rhinitis. And second one is in the parasitic infestation. Either it is blood parasite or it is intestinal parasite. We'll see that the eosinophils are increased. And next one is basophils. If basophils are increased, it is called basophilia. And the conditions will be smallpox, chickenpox, and polycythemia vera. Now let us come to a last parameter of CBC, that is platelet count. The normal range is 1.5 to 4.5 lakhs per cubic millimeter. If they are increased, the condition is called thrombocytosis, and the platelet ranges from 5 to 10 lakh per cubic millimeter. The conditions will be CML, that is chronic myeloid leukemia, MPD is myeloproliferative disorders, polycythemia vera, essential thrombocythemia, myelofibrosis, blood loss, infections, neoplasm, and post-splenectomy. Now comes where platelets count are decreased. This condition is called thrombocytopenia. As we see, the normal range is from 1.5 to 4.5 lakhs per cubic millimeter. Let me tell you friends that when platelet counts are decreased than 1 lakh per cubic millimeter, the patient is asymptomatic. If the platelet count is from 50,000 to 1 lakh per cubic millimeter, the patient bleeds after hemorrhage. As everybody has the bleeding after hemorrhage, but there is a prolonged bleeding. And if the platelet count is from 20,000 to 50,000, there is skin purpura. And if the platelet count goes less than 20,000 platelets, there is spontaneous bleeding from mucous membranes. Either there is bleeding from gums, or there will be hemoptysis, hematemesis, rectal bleeding, etc. Now let us see the conditions in thrombocytopenia. There can be three conditions. One is either reduced platelet production, means the platelets are not produced up to the mark. That condition will be vitamin B12, vitamin B12 or folic acid deficiency. In conditions of viral infections, hypoplastic or aplastic anemia, thrombopoietin deficiency, and second one is increased destruction. Increased destruction occurs in ITP, that is idiopathic thrombocytopenic purpura. Second one is SLE. SLE is systemic lupus erythematosus. Third one is drug-induced. Fourth, dengue. And fifth one is lymphoproliferative disorders. And the third condition is increased sequestration, which occurs in the hypersplenism. Let me tell you one more thing. If all the three cells are decreased, means RBC, WBC, platelets, all are decreased, that condition is called pancytopenia. It mostly occurs in bone marrow suppression. Either it is due to any bone marrow disease or bone marrow suppression due to any steroids or any allopathic drugs, which directly acts on the bone marrow and suppresses the production of blood cells. Here I finishes my second chapter of hematological series, that is interpretation and differentials of CBC. After this, I hope you'll be able to make differential diagnosis when you see a CBC report and to advise the patient further investigations to go to the final diagnosis. If this video is helpful to you, please like, share and comment on my video and subscribe my channel A.P.S School of Excellence for more clinical videos. Thank you so much. Keep watching.